Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am incredibly excited to guide you through today's topic because we are looking at a really fascinating high-stakes battle between the human body and an invisible elemental threat. It turns out we're constantly surrounded by a chemical that is completely ubiquitous in modern industry, but poses an absolutely extreme hazard to human cells. Today, we're dissecting the anatomy of a poison, hexavalent chromium. Now, to truly understand the gravity of this threat, we need to internalize a rather staggering number. 110 million. That's the estimated number of workers globally who are exposed every single year to welding fumes that frequently contain our toxic villain. From aerospace manufacturing to construction, right down to petroleum refining, hexavalent chromium is an absolute industrial titan. But, as we're going to see, this exposure comes with some immense biological consequences.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're covering 1. The two faces of chromium. 2. The Trojan horse attack. 3. Recognizing the toxic symptoms. 4. OSHA protections and limits. And 5. Medical treatment and management.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the two faces of chromium.
This is basically a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde scenario right on the periodic table. On one hand, we have trivalent chromium, or Cr3, which is largely considered an essential micronutrient. You can actually find it marketed as a dietary supplement for glucose regulation. But then, we have its evil twin, hexavalent chromium, or Cr6. Because of its specific chemical structure, it's incredibly soluble in water and an astonishing 100 times more toxic than its trivalent counterpart. It is a known, highly potent human carcinogen.
And unfortunately, this evil twin hides in plain sight across a ton of industries. Chromium trioxide is heavily used in metal plating and wood preservatives. Lead chromate, that gives brilliant pigment to industrial paints. Sodium dichromate is essential for inks and dyes, and zinc chromate is a staple in priming aerospace paints for corrosion resistance. Basically, if you work in heavy industry, construction, or manufacturing, hexavalent chromium is very likely in your environment.
Moving on to Section 2, the Trojan horse attack.
This microscopic sequence is equal parts brilliant and terrifying. Think of it like a cellular heist. Step 1. Hexavalent chromium actually sneaks up to the human cell wall disguised as a harmless sulfate or phosphate molecule. Because of this chemical mimicry, in Step 2, the cell's own anion channels just invite the poison right inside. No forced entry needed. Once it's in, Step 3 kicks off. Our body's own antioxidant compounds, like vitamin C, attempt to metabolize it. But this reaction creates highly unstable intermediates. This leads directly to Step 4, where the chromium violently binds to proteins in DNA, crossing single and double-stranded DNA breaks, massive oxidative stress, and catastrophic genetic mutations. It literally weaponizes the cell's own defense mechanisms against it.
But hey, we aren't completely defenseless here. In fact, if the exposure happens through ingestion, we have a rather surprising and, slightly gross frontline defender. Our stomach acid. Gastric juices effectively neutralize 80 to 90% of ingested hexavalent chromium, reducing it back down to that far less toxic trivalent form we talked about earlier. Because of this built-in chemical barrier, swallowing the toxin is actually much less lethal than inhaling it or getting it into damaged skin.
Which brings us to Section 3, recognizing the toxic symptoms.
Now, what's truly striking here is the terminology used by medical professionals. When chromate dusts or solutions make contact with the skin, especially if there's even a tiny cut, it produces these penetrating lesions clinically referred to as chrome holes or chrome ulcers. They start as a small bump but rapidly form deep ulcers with raised, hard edges. Even worse, if workers chronically inhale this dust, it destroys the mucous membranes in the nose, literally dissolving the tissue until it causes complete nasal septal perforation. Those are the localized effects. But what happens over years of exposure? The long-term systemic complications are severe. Chronic inhalation primarily targets the respiratory system, with the ultimate threat being squamous cell carcinoma of the lung. The continuous oxidative stress and DNA damage just completely overwhelm the body over time. And alongside cancer, workers frequently develop occupational asthma, agonizing allergic dermatitis, and chronic renal failure simply because the kidneys are desperately working overtime to excrete this toxin.
And while our stomach acid does offer some protection against minor ingestion, massive acute oral toxicity is an entirely different nightmare. We're talking about severe, usually accidental or intentional exposures here.
The lethal dose in humans is incredibly small, just 1 to 3 grams. To put that in perspective, at that level, the poison causes severe gastrointestinal corrosion, circulatory collapse, and massive multi-system organ failure. In these extreme acute cases, the poisoning is often fatal, regardless of what medical therapies are used.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, OSHA protections and limits.
In the United States, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, acts as the authoritative defense mechanism. They're the federal agency tasked with setting the legal boundaries and enforcement strategies to make sure that the air workers breathe and the environments they operate in don't cause these terrible health outcomes.
And OSHA has drilled this down to a very specific, incredibly strict legal limit, 5 micrograms per cubic meter of air. This is the 8-hour time-weighted average permissible exposure limit, or PEL. Over the course of an entire 8-hour shift, an employee's average exposure to airborne hexavalent chromium absolutely cannot exceed this tiny, almost imperceptible amount.
Furthermore, employers can't just sit back and wait until they hit that limit to take action. Reaching just half the legal limit, 2.5 micrograms per cubic meter, triggers what's called the action level. Once the air quality hits this threshold, employers are federally mandated to begin periodic air monitoring, usually every 6 months, just to guarantee that the exposure isn't creeping up toward that dangerous limit.
To stay below these limits, OSHA mandates a strict hierarchy of control tactics. Employers have to try substitution first, swapping out the chemical for something safer. If that's impossible, they have to isolate the source or use heavy local exhaust ventilation. Only when those engineering controls fail are respirators utilized. And here's a really vital point. OSHA explicitly prohibits employers from rotating workers through different high-exposure jobs, just to keep their individual averages down. You have to fix the air. You can't just cycle the humans.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, medical treatment and management.
The exact moment acute toxicity is recognized on the job, immediate supportive action is critical. The worker has to be removed to fresh air instantly. If it's a skin exposure, mechanical dermal decontamination, basically washing it off thoroughly, is paramount. But here's an incredibly counterintuitive yet absolutely vital step for oral ingestions. Medical professionals must ensure the patient avoids antacids or bicarbonate. Why? Because we need the stomach to remain highly acidic so those gastric juices can continue reducing the poison into its less harmful trivalent state. Once at the hospital, toxicologists deploy advanced medical interventions to literally force the chromium out of the bloodstream and protect the patient's kidneys. In massive exposures, they'll use hemodialysis to physically clean the blood. They also utilize heavy chemical binders like calcium EDTA. And amazingly, they'll often prescribe massive doses of ascorbic acid, that's vitamin C, and N-acetylcysteine to leverage the body's own antioxidant pathways, forcing the heavy metal to bind so it can be safely eliminated.
So the crucial point to take away here is that despite all our biological defenses and regulatory frameworks, this chemical remains a formidable adversary. A massive meta-analysis of nearly 1 million workers with occupational exposure found an overall cancer prevalence of 1.17%. When you apply that percentage to the 110 million workers exposed globally, the real-world stakes of this microscopic battle become absolutely staggering.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer and leaves us with one highly provocative question. Hexavalent chromium is invisible, it's scentless, and it hides in the most common industrial applications. So, whether you work in an office, a shipyard, or a welding bay, do you actually know what's in the air at your workplace? Thank you so much for exploring this topic with me, and keep asking the important questions.